All right, guys, we're going to start solving and graphing inequalities. I'm just giving you two-step inequalities. They're very similar to doing the two-step equations. Really, there's only one little tiny difference. So we'll go over that. An inequality. An inequality is an equation in quotes, because technically it's not an equation, that instead of using an equal sign, it has one of four signs because it's not equal to, it's less than or greater than, or it can be equal to, but it also has to be less than or equal to then. So unlike equations, which have one answer, inequalities have infinite answers. And so that's why we're going to be using the number line to show the answers. And we'll get to that. So when you have the sign that is pointing towards your left, that is less than. When it's pointing towards the right, it's greater than. When it's pointing towards the left and has a line under it, it's less than or equal to. And when it's pointing to the right with a line under it, it's greater than or equal to. So solving inequalities. Inequalities are solved exactly the same way that equations are solved. There is only one exception. So this is the only difference. If you multiply or divide by a negative to solve it, the inequality sign will have to flip to the opposite. So if it was greater than, it becomes less than. If it was less than, it becomes greater than. Why? Well, because when you divide by the negative, it's the opposite of the positive. So think about the two steps that would take to solve for x in the inequality below. The same steps that you would take in order to solve a regular equation, but it just has the less than sign. So subtract 4 from both sides, rewrite it, what happens after you subtract the 4, divide both sides by 2, and then you have your answer. How do we then, our answer is x is less than 2. That's how you read it. Any number that is less than 2 is your answer. So there are infinite possibilities for that answer. Since we can't write them all out, or we don't want to write them all out, we're going to use a number line. So when we write on our number line, if it's less than or greater than, it's an open circle pointing towards the right way. If it has a line under it, it's a closed circle, so fill the circle in. The circle goes on top of the number. That was your answer. So x is less than 2. The circle goes above the 2. And then the arrow points towards the numbers that represent numbers that are less than 2. On this next example, I showed you that when I divided by -4 here, I flipped the sign. It was greater than or equal to. It became less than or equal to. And then because it has that line underneath, you have to have the circle filled in. And the stuff still goes to x is less than. So numbers that are less than -6 would be over there to right. And that is what there is for that quick and dirty explanation of how to do inequalities. I can never get this to stop like it's supposed to.